So tonight, full of energy, we're going to do this. We're going to explore the party from the perspective of PCs and DMs alike. In a mechanical way and in a sentimental way. And then we're going to use that information after the break to generate some random circumstances using the Wayfinder's Guide, and we could even bring in the DMG, because the Dungeon Master's Guide can really help hold your hand through making a campaign if you're not sure either. But we're going to structure it around, well, here, I'll bring it up now and we'll show it to you later. Around Freitag's Pyramid, okay? Ooh. That salsa has a nice burn to it. Alright, as you can see, I did a little bit of homework before the stream. I took information from all 5 of our character PDFs, and I preloaded it into the worksheet that we've been using. And actually, I think I'm going to revise this. I'm going to tweak this worksheet just a little bit more for next week. Well, probably for sure, because next week, actually, we're going to take 2 weeks again, like we did with Eberron. We're going to be taking 2 weeks, and we're going to be delving into Pathfinder 2nd Edition playtest. And we'll see what that's all about. We'll, you know, we'll do some character generation in there. We'll look at the system and such as it exists in this playtest pack. Oh, Bubonic, you're genning some characters now too? I seem to have forgotten a napkin. And the old mustache is doing an excellent job filtering my salsa for me. Now, as I do bring up every week, when we generate these characters, they are at random levels. So you are seeing, well, look, we have Lucorlio has 58 hit points, and Griror has 59. But then we have Karek, who has 164. And you say, okay, hang on. Are we really going to compare a level 20 ranger with a level 8 monk? And yes, we are. Does it help if they're all the same level? Yes, of course. It's not necessary for the bulk of what we're going to be examining. Rhodey, you're very welcome. You know, it was blunt, but you know that I'm saying it out of concern for a friend. I do not have a napkin near. All right. Well, I guess I'll be a little sniffly and a little savage here. The reason why we can compare a level 8 monk to a level 20 ranger is because in D&D 5th edition, your ability scores matter, but because they have a natural cap of 20, you could generate a character that by level 8 has maximized their main class's stat. If you play a Mountain Dwarf Barbarian, by level 8, actually, hell yeah, by level 8, you could have a 20 strength or a 20 con, depending on where you dropped your 15 if you use the standard array. And then your other stat would be 20 in the level after at level 12. So it's very easy to max out. And because you're going to tend to only pick up 1 or 2 stats anyway, we already see by level 4, by level 8, in which stat you're going to shine. Pardon me. So the fact that a character has a 20 in something and another character doesn't takes nothing away from the fact that we already know that Whip is dexterous. If you look up here in the gray line, Whip is very dexterous. And was very dexterous at 18 and even very dexterous at 16. Hopefully that makes sense. You know, your proficiency bonus is going to mean a lot more later on than your scores will. Oh, great, Rhodey. I think you'll find a lot of adventure, and it's a great way to have a lot of socialization too. No, Rhodium, you in chat are what's important, right? I'm on Twitch, you're on Twitch, I'm broadcasting, and you're going out of your way to listen, or watch, or both. Don't apologize for conversation, asking questions, or whatever. You're completely fine here. Heck, I'm eating chips and salsa, okay? Tracy is making Mordecai a pretty dexterous boy. Ah, a dex bard. Doubling up on that stat. Look, Dex is really solid in 5th Ed. Offense and defense. Bubonic says there's no cap in Pathfinder 2, but the hard cap at level 1 is 18, and every point of gain after 18 costs 2 to gain. So if you want to raise an 18 at 5, with one of your 4 gains, you can only gain a +1. So technically without powerful items or spells, 23 is a max stat. And you know, Bubonic, if you're reviewing that, I'm going to look at it during the break, the Sunday-Monday break, and certainly, you know, as we go through these next 2 weeks and we delve into Pathfinder, if you have commentary, things you want to bring up or clarify or reference, I'll be the pretty face. Like, I'll be a Pat Sajak, but you can be the awesome Vanna White, and actually, you know, help reference and flip things and say, no, it's on page whatever. Alright, so we have all the stats are proficient saves, passive perception, and passive investigation, since those are directly mentioned in the rule books. However, passive insight is something that I will be adding to this worksheet as well. I loved passive insight in 4th edition, and it is kind of brought up in 5th Ed, and I mean, really any skill could be passive. But I'd love to put passive insight up as well. Hit points is going to matter more. Maybe more for a DM, but especially if all the characters listed are the same level. And AC, you can see here that since we gave Street Rat a shield, I put 18S for shield, whereas the others, 16, 18... Actually, let's take a look. Does Whippoorwill? No, Whippoorwill, yeah, just has a high dex and whiz. So it's an 18 with a shield, otherwise it'd be a 16. Yeah, Coffee Cat. Observant will bring up passive investigation. Rhodey's off to bed. You're so tired. Have a great night, Rhodey. Thanks for popping by. Bubonic one, I can do that since I move. Wait, I can do that since once I moved to South Carolina, I already have a real-life group lined up for a play test. So I'm reading the book and the extra DM stuff as fast as I can. Okay, Bubonic. Now, in the next step, I went through and I added the names of each of the characters who are proficient in a particular skill. And what this does is it makes a kind of a horizontal line bar. And we can see who and how many excel at these particular skills. And where there's none, I put a big X. To help even better visualize what's going on here, I recommend doing some color coding. So here, pardon me, I have the lemon lime soda is making me a little burpy. There are unfortunately 5 skills that have that the party has no proficiency in. Now, it doesn't mean that they can't try, or even try and do so in an advantageous way, mechanically advantageous. There's just not a more apt person for it. Next up, let's highlight all of the skills in which only one party member has proficiency. And this is going to be colored yellow. And the reason why it's yellow, right? Yellow tends to be caution. It's great that these skills have someone. But look at this. If something were to happen to Karak, the party would lose religion, insight, medicine, and perception. If something were to happen to Whip, the party would lose athletics and acrobatics. And so yellow is caution. You have it, but you have to be careful because there's only one person who's proficient at it. Now, where a skill has 2 proficiencies, I like coloring this green. You have backup. If something happens to Lucorlio, Greerer can step up in history. Street Rat can step up in animal handling, and Street Rat can again step up in survival. Lastly, we have skills in which 3 or more of the party members are proficient. Color this sky blue. Right? Sky, it's a big open sky. There is super backup. There's proficient redundancies. You could probably like combo and get advantage all day. This is where the party really shines, is in blue, and where the party is a little darker, it's in the red. Hi, Ars Fantastica. You're lurking while cleaning the computer room? Perfectly fine. I hope that as I present... well, look. I usually have, what, a text document and some PDFs open. The show has visual elements, but I really try to be conscious in running it in a way that if you are not actively watching and you can listen, you're still following along, and you can use your imagination to help fill in some gaps. So I hope we're able to help you out in your chore to clean out the computer room, Mars. Coffee Cat Comics, also Maddie, you'll be happy to know I have some ideas for Mordecai's backstory since we didn't get to have a session 0. Yes, in fact, I will be, by the way, I can work with you on that because you had a question about what city Mordecai should be from, and I will have the time and opportunity to get that map and a breakdown of Mesomasca over to the cast and crew section for you all to ponder over. Bubonic One, don't forget, if Greer goes away, they lose persuasion. Yes. In fact, there is only... Greer is the only one with any kind of a social, like a charisma-based skill proficiency. This party is not the most charismatic. Especially if you look at... well, go up here. Look at the scores. 8, 10, 10. Greer is 10. Lucorlio, though, is, you know, a golden god of charisma. Since he rode that out hard, and he maxed it out. I mean, he's a warlock, yeah, that's important. But at least, you know, so Lucorlio at least is a face. He's really the face. Everyone else is average at best. And when I say average, like, you know, they graduated high school, and that's their level of socialization and you know, verbosity. Well, Lucorlio didn't. Here, we'll go over real quick. Lucorlio didn't here because as a folk hero, you get animal handling and survival for your background. However, he went history and investigation because he is so old, right? He is an old, he's an old gnome. 369. This might be his last adventure. If not before retiring, then it's his last adventure before something happens. You know, he throws out his back or something. He's working to improve the image of marginalized minority group. He's opposed the war. And so from what was available through Warlock, history and investigation, as he's also, if we look at his personality, tyrants must not be allowed to oppress the people. I have a family, but I have no idea where they are. So he's searching. He's questioning, and any sort of socialization he's done has been at the point of his well, I mean, the point of his dagger or the point of his magical pointy finger. Exactly. He's not terrible by default. Look. I mean, granted, he's high level. Well, he's level 11. And by level 11 here, he naturally has a 5 in deception, intimidation, performance, etc. So he's a good social generalist. He just doesn't excel at social skills. He's more a doer than a talker. Now. Oh yeah, they have an excellent AC, Bubonic. Hey DJ Delta, you just got here, was building the last bit of the torso for your Minecraft Warforged. Was busy playing D&D all day yesterday before getting home and joining the stream, and played some for a good bit of today. Hey, I would love to hear what happened at your D&D game, if you're willing to share, Delta. Did you tell your table about what you won? And if so, how did they react? Bubonic One says, shouldn't Lou have a 58-13? Oh, for his AC? Yeah, I'm sorry. Good catch. Leather armor with a +2 dex. Hey, hey, Lethality. The Mistress of Death. arrives upon the winds of desire. Yes, I did. The miniature guy thought it was cool. Great. Now, Delta, be prepared to have these minis used against you. There's probably going to be a beholder fight in your future. Hopefully you can recruit the help of a solar angel. Hey, Seraph, thank you. Well, we're having fun tonight. We're building the party. We're getting the gang back together. And I'm having some excellent hot salsa. My gosh. This is really good stuff. With some black bean and garlic chips. So it's kind of a social eating slash D&D. Which arguably D&D is a social eating game anyway, isn't it? Pizza, Thai food, snacks, chips, whatever. Sodi pop. Bubonic, so they have at least a decent AC. Looks, Lou looks range, so it doesn't need all that high. No, not at all. You can see, I also indicated what languages the party has intrinsic to it. Dwarven, Infernal, Abyssal, Draconic, Halfling, 2 others that are unslotted but are available for the party to learn for different members, and Gnomish. Now, the party tool proficiencies are really large in this week's segment. Hey, Pat, thank you very much for the host. You like hummus, but that company makes the worst commercials? I haven't seen any, but I guess I'll take your word for it, Bubonic. They have good hummus, too. What are you experimenting with, Pat? Or with what are you experimenting? In Eberron, the general level of magic and tool use compared to vanilla D&D, whatever that is higher. You are going to find more characters and NPCs who have more tool proficiencies and more access to magic than you will at in another, like a, I don't know, generic Faerun setting. Oh, all right. Well, Pat, if we can help you out, there's a mentor network. There's a mentor tag, I should say, for that. Myself and others, though, we could help you through that. Yeah, lots of tool use in an Eberron party or an Eberron setting. You are going to find more magic and more tool proficiencies. Education and the economy is more advanced. It's kind of in a magical industrial revolution. And look at this. 3 members of the party can use thieves' tools. 2 can use a disguised kit. Cartographer's tools, calligraphy, culinarian, cobbler, vehicles, land, forgery, tinker, smith, and even a shamisen instrument. Probably not, Seraph. Well, I guess it depends on where you go. But considering in the campaign adventure, or the campaign setting in which we're going to take our outline tonight, the city of Sharn, there's actually a chart for what happens when you fall off one of the many bridges that exist. Because it's an unfortunately common occurrence. Then lastly, for the pre-filled in, and whether or not any one or all of these help you with your examination, if we're all PCs getting together and looking at our strengths and weaknesses, or if you're playing DM to this group, and you say, oh, okay, look at this. Cartographer's tools, thieves' tools. Okay, I think I can work in crafting or some other aspects into this campaign, or to highlight it more than just if it was a Faerun or a Greyhawk. There's also roles, right? What are traditional roles that can be taken? Here we have our Barbarian, who is melee, ranged, and has light magic. Now you'll notice everyone in the party has some kind of light magic because they all have dragon marks, which open up some magical use. And many people in the Eberron setting are going to be light magic users in some way. Carrack, our ranger, melee, light magic. Whip, or Whippoorwill, a monk, melee, light magic. Lucorlio, our warlock, ranged, medium magic. And Greerar, our monk, melee and light magic. It should be noted, when you, and this is why I like listing out general like combat roles. No one in the party is a healing class or has access to natural healing magic as a druid or cleric. The ranger could take a cure spell, but do you want your ranger wasting his action to cast cure? Or do you want your ranger and his beast companion to be on the front lines bringing people down? Now, also, something to bear in mind, we do have some healing in the party that doesn't rely on just buying magic healing potions. If we look at Whippoorwill, by being a halfling, had the chance to either be in the hospitality or the healing dragonmarked family. And we rolled healing. So, Whippoorwill, as a monk, does have some capability of healing, kind of like a lay on hands. But do we have a healer? Nah, not necessarily. Which means that this party's going to have to be careful. They can recover. You know, in combat, maybe Whippoorwill can use that healing ability, or they can buy some items. Or, what we do is we take it as a sign that this party's going to be using some downtime to recover between fights. You know, using short rests and long rests and such. Exactly. We have field medics, not surgeons. Whippoorwill can't turn hamburger back into a cow. Seraph Industrial Revolution, indeed. I like my cheap labor. Pat says, Shade is watching you on the monitor as he lays in front of it. Bubonic One, some parts of the world have strict child protection laws, but sadly many areas don't, and some parts endorse slavery and practice it. Tricey says, in my campaign, in the one city that the campaign takes place in is a multi-level metropolitan city. I think we need to make it more visible that one could potentially fall levels. Well then, Coffee Cat, you'll get a glimpse of that if you didn't already see part 2 of last night. We'll get into that because Sharn has towers that go like a mile up. It's crazy. Lethality says, Coffee Cat, I'd probably design something to show that falling means more than just a buttload of D6 bludgeoning damage, because then you get things like monks and featherfall and whatnot. Yeah, if I was DM, I would make a city like Metropolis. So now what I'd like to do, with you all having followed along so far, I would like your help in making a very basic SWOT report for the party. SWOT, in this case SWOT, stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Strengths and weaknesses are internal to the party. You know, they're things that they can help or that they do have, you know, the ability to recognize internally. Opportunities and threats are something that exist outside. So if the occasion were to occur, etc. and so forth. An example, strength. Physical saves are a strength of the party. Look at that. Strength con, strength dex. Although technically a monk, when they get Diamond Soul, as this character did, and that's why I put all, that makes you proficient at all saves. But traditionally they get strength dex. So strength con, strength dex, and strength dex. If, you know, a gust of wind is going to try and push us off a bridge in Sharn, there's a very good chance that no one's going to budge. Or if anyone does, it's Lucorlio. A weakness? Yeah, there you go. Good call on that, Coffee Cat. Charisma-based stuff. All for except one person, charisma is almost a dump stat. And only Greerer has proficiency in a skill. And Greerer isn't even our charisma person. Nope, Dark Wolf. Or if they are, it's going to be, they're going to have to roleplay. R-O-L-E. They can't just roll it out. Not as easily. Well, they might have pretty faces. It's just that they don't speak so good. Alright, so physical saves, charisma stuff. A strength would be... let's see. Physical combat is a strength of theirs. Barbarian, monk, ranger. So they can hold themselves in a fight. And there's enough of them also that have ranged abilities, whether it's through weapons or even through some magic, that they are going to they should be able to handle themselves in a fight. Solid AC, solid hit points. Look, con 16, 14, 14, 10, 14. Pat, you posted the pic on the server. It's Shade watching the stream. I'll take a look at that in a little bit, Pat. Thank you. Seraph, I mean, those tavern ladies will be making good tips when they walk in. Oh. What would be another weakness? Remember, this is something that's internal to the party. Would you say... I don't know. Would you say a... Okay, Coffee. Do what you gotta do, man. How about that? There's very little healing in this group. You have a monk that kind of gets to act like a paladin, with a dragonmarked that kind of does lay on hands. Aside from that, you better be buying healing potions or be in the good graces of maybe an acolyte of some faith, so you can get healing at a hospital or at maybe a religious organization. Hi, Tervin. Now, let's go back and give at least one more strength and one more weakness, okay? That way we're going through and we're really examining the party and we're being interactive here. Because you all might see something I don't. Nature and Arcana are weaknesses. So identifying creatures and such could be a weakness. That could be. In fact... we'll put Arcana Nature. Think about this, Coffee Cat. That's an excellent idea. I'm sorry. This is a weakness. In the world of Eberron, or in the campaign setting of Eberron, where almost everything has some kind of intrinsic magic to it, what could the party be missing if it doesn't have anyone on hand who's proficient at identifying magical phenomena? And let's identify one more strength of theirs. DJ Delta, you say that you came across a checkpoint about a day away from the destination Redcap's attack. Borba did the finishing blow on 4 of them as she went to say she would make an example of the last one. He killed himself to summon an Eledrian, managed to nearly beat it in 2 turns due to some luck on the party end. Ended there. Oh, yeah, not sure how much that came through. It came through with a closed parenthesis, and then you say came across a checkpoint. Yeah, if you want to put that in Tales from the Tabletop, DJ, I think that'll be better. They can investigate and sneak pretty well. Look at that. Passive investigation, 12, 17, 16, 14. So yeah, I mean, we can obviously say their dex and their int are a big strength. More specifically, because approaching it from that end is more of an opportunity. Their passives are pretty good. Like, overall, the lowest score is a 9. No one else is at a 10. I mean, we have an 11 as the second lowest. But our party has really good passives for perception and even for investigation. Now, what we can do, Coffee Cat, is let's bridge that of what the party has internally, and let's bring up an external circumstance that can occur to where the party will find a great opportunity. In this case, sneaking missions / detective work. Right? That would be an excellent opportunity for the party. The party would love to be offered a sneaking mission / detective work. Now, a threat. What is something beyond their control that if it occurred, it would threaten the party? I can think of a big one right now. So I'm going to lick my fingers like a savage because I forgot to grab a napkin before sitting down. Well, bubonic, that's always a threat. Unless you meant something more specific. Coffee Cat diplomatic missions? That's true. We could put, we could complement sneaking missions and opportunities with the threat of some kind of a diplomatic mission. Or rather, a very specific one. Int and Wiz aren't too bad. It's just making or saving face is where they'd have a problem. What about this? All of the characters, especially because they are all dragon marked, including Karak, our tiefling. Tieflings don't normally get dragon marks. And so we use that character as an example of an aberrant dragon mark. All of our characters are dragon marked. All of our characters have access to some spells. They have grown up in a society where magic is a part of life. Almost anywhere you go. What happens if this party runs into an anti-magic field? Or even a wild magic zone? They are so dependent on magic as a society and individual characters that if you take magic away from them, what is going to happen to the party? That would be a huge threat, wouldn't it? I'm like a little baby putting my fingers in my mouth here. Goo goo gaga. Yep. Dispel, counterspell, and various zones. And not only that, if magic is allowed, but is detected, because look, because magic is around, how many people do you think have little, like, magic sensors at their countertop to make sure that someone's not turning a silver piece into a gold piece? If you go to the police station, you think that they're going to have a zone of truth set up so that you can't lie to them? So if you take that away from them, what are they going to have? I think I got it all. All right, let's come back up. What would be another great opportunity? What would be another great opportunity for this party? Here's a good hint. They all have dragon marks. Promotions in their houses. if you naturally receive a dragon mark, it's because you are a part of one of the 12 established houses in Eberron. That means that all of the characters except Karak, well, Karak's going to be the same thing but different. All of the characters except Karak are going to be in a position where they can increase their standing and their influence in their great house because they are marked by their house. And so when they achieve victory, social standing, good fame and fortune in publications and in the, in the general public, that speaks to their house, and their house could then reward them. Now, Karak has an aberrant dragon mark. It's a wild one. It's a random one. Karak, however, can still work because if he lives with this aberrant dragon mark and becomes stronger with it, then he has either survived something that many people haven't. If he wanted to, maybe he can use that to make a statement, because at one point in time in Eberron, there were many people with aberrant dragon marks until the 12 houses got together and hunted them down and killed them. Almost down to the last one. But now more aberrant dragon marks have been showing up again. And so what this could do is show that, that Karak can live and survive and not be a horrible person with an aberrant dragon mark. And so while he may not be a part of a house, he could be a leader in the community of people who are developing these effectively mutant powers, right? You get a sorcerer cantrip and a first level sorcerer spell with an aberrant dragon mark. Hey, Journeyman! We are doing very well tonight. We're going over our party. We're bringing it together. We're talking about just ways to make our characters fleshed out. And in fact, in a way, kind of like how it sounded when you were sent that script or that prompt from Lamentations of the Flame Princess, and it talks about how a character conveys himself or different things the character has or is good at doing, and you translate that into art with your traditional mediums. We're doing that with words in our imagination. We're taking some written words and we're making the characters come alive. Zulerpie, does animal handling have much use in a city? If it does, isn't it an opportunity like zoos or escaped J-Mans? It could. And think of this too. Now, animal handling isn't like a psychic connection, but there are plenty of animals that live in a city, whether they're in private menageries, public zoos, rats, birds, bats, cats, dogs. If there's some interesting other, alligators in the sewers. But especially if there's things like stray dogs or something and you want to calm them down to keep them, a mastiff from ripping your throat out, animal handling would be very useful. Whoa, Evelyn, hey, good to see you. Yep, so Journey, I've had fun because as I watch your stream, and by the way, yeah, it could be for those who are broken in. Maybe it'll give you a chance, if you have a proficiency with a wild animal, to get it to calm down, or maybe to try and capture it, or to begin training a wild animal for domestication. Evelyn, can you give a shout out to Journeyman's Twitch? You all should go over and see Journeyman and what he's been doing. He's been making some awesome art for a new module for Lamentations of the Flame Princess. Talkative dude, awesome, great advice. If you love when I get up on a soapbox and just, rant about something, J-Man can put me to shame. And I say that with all due respect. But you can ask him art questions, questions about life. It's an excellent place to just go and relax and be a part of something fun. That's right. Smash Ash, that follow button. super less than PG-13. That is true. Journeyman does go above the 2 F-bomb limit that PG-13 can allow. Sometimes he might border on 3 F-bombs during the course of a minute. I mean minute. Zulerpie, plug for J-Man. Lamentation of the Flame Princess. J-Man did the interior art for Obscene Serpent Religion 2 by J. Rince, and now doing all the art for the Punchline. Yes! Thank you, Zulerpie, for throwing that in there, and for Ivlon for asking people to smash that follow button. It's really coming together. And, oh, yeah, you know, I was going to ask because, well, look, this is Saturday. This is the big day at Gen Con. So I was going to ask if you or anyone else who's been following Gen Con had any insight onto announcements, awards, big upcoming stuff. In the book you did? Oh, you mean the Book of Masks? Visage. Oh shoot, why am I not remembering? Shame on me. Veneer, right? I was thinking liminality for a minute because we talked about liminal and liminality as a concept in your channel before, J-Man. Oh, Obscene Serpent. Okay, got it. All right. Okay. That's awesome. Also, are those actual mini boxes from Out of the Abyss? Well, all right, so it's called Rage of Demons, but these are sealed miniature boxes, Ivlon, as we're doing a fundraiser for the channel, where for 1,000 bits or a $10 donation, you could choose which box of minis you want, and I'll open it live on stream, and then I will send you the rare or the large uncommon, whichever is in there, as a part of the included fee. Although, unfortunately, Ivlon, because you live just a little bit further north of Lake Erie than I, there would be a little bit extra for shipments to Canada. Ivlon, oh, by the way, how much do you know about Eberron now? I love the house conflict you have because it has that in the setting. Yes, so Ivlon, for the past 2 weeks, we have been exploring the Wayfinder's Guide to Ivlon. In week 1, we investigated the setting overall, and we made a 4-character party, one of each of the native races to Eberron. This week, we made a party of 5 dragon-marked normal characters, including a tiefling that we gave an aberrant dragon mark to. Oh, did I say the Wayfinder's Guide to Ivlon? I mean, there's that too. So yeah, we've spent the past 2 weeks doing that, and then Ivlon, for the next upcoming 2 weeks, we are going to switch over to Pathfinder 2nd Edition, and we're going to explore it. We'll gen up some random characters, and we'll see how the setting is working. And so yes, a threat to an external threat here, because we have a party made up of dragonmarked characters. There is inter and anti-house conflict that is rampant in Eberron. So just how individually an opportunity would be that if they succeed, they'll gain rank in their houses. However, not all the houses get along together, especially with Karak, who has an aberrant dragon mark. And that is that's a very big social taboo. It's kind of like, you know, mutants in the X-Men. So, hopefully you all have seen... do you make these characters for fun, or is someone going to play them? Turvin, we make them for fun and for, I guess, edutainment purposes on the channel, to show you how to make them, and also to just get people to think outside the box. Especially, you know, if you find yourself in the curse of, no, I have to have a min-max character, or, you know, my bard has to have maximum charisma. It doesn't. You can make viable characters that are fun to roleplay and can still function mechanically without min-maxing. Or to do race and class combos, especially with backgrounds, that maybe you've never considered before. Or to get you more comfortable with improvised thinking of role-playing, right? So if I give you a set of, you know, if I shotgun some stars in the sky, can you draw a constellation from there? And then from that, what is the story behind the constellation? That's kind of what we do. And then Turvin, at the end of the week, what I'll do is on our Discord. I'll have to collapse this a little bit so you can see. Here it says past content all the way at the bottom. What I do then is I'll go through, and everything that we've made for the week, I will upload, right? For party members, I'll give you a blurb about the character. Here is the segment of the channel which we made it. And then on top of that, oops, it actually looks like I'm glad I did this, because I uploaded this kind of late after, late into this week. I still have to put up the character sheets. But yes, anyway, so you could download the character sheets, you can watch the character being built, and get a blurb. So we'll do last week's, or the week before that's campaign. So here we go, Dragozan, fun fact, here's the build, and here is the character sheet you can download. Here's the characters. Now for the campaign materials, here's the map. Here's us making the map as a YouTube video, and here's the reference guide that we randomly generated in order to build the map, so you can download it and start making more details and map notes and campaign world notes. Then here's the actual, here's the party formation, which is what we're doing right now tonight. Here's the party stats and the party bonds, which are the documents that we're reviewing right now. So you can get this meta knowledge if you want to plan something. And then finally, here is our campaign outline for the week that's centered on a writing technique. So this week we did the heroic journey. This week we're going to be using Freitag's pyramid, as well as some random generation, because in the Wayfinder's Guide to Eberron, there's actually some special City of Sharn encounters and other things for you to consider that you can roll randomly. And then we'll structure it along Freitag's pyramid, because I want to try and throw out different ways to write, different ways to conceptualize a campaign that you can run. And so if you want to run Kith and Kindle as a campaign, you have a solid outline to do so, and you can watch the creative process in how we arrive to that finished product. Well, it's finished in so much that it's a solid idea, but you're going to have to refine it. And so here's our Eberron review week, and then after tonight's session, when everything is uploaded onto YouTube, Twitch gets it for 24 hours, and then I can put it up on YouTube. Then this week's session is going to go up in past content, and you can look at that too. Turvin, I know that was a long, rambling answer. I hope it answered your question, though. Evelyn, sometimes we have adventures with them in the one-word adventures. Yeah, that's true. The one-word adventure, you can also... I post this up in Tales from the Tabletop also if you want some inspiration. DJ Delta, mind if I post a link to show me your current progress? Yeah, go ahead and do so, DJ. Oh, yep, there's Pat's cat watching the channel. That's great. What a fluffy belly. You gotta touch cat cat bellies like that. Yes, they are fuzzy bear traps because, you know, you do that and then they clench up on you. But you still can't help it. And also, with our mentor network that we have over here on our Discord, Nanev asked earlier, I'm thinking about learning to draw on a computer. I'm a draftsman by trade, HVAC, so I already spend a lot of time behind my computer, AutoCAD and MicroStation. Now I'm playing with Inkscape, and I would like to stay with it. I'm thinking about buying a tablet, a Wacom. Is there anyone here who has advice? And so we pinged our art advisors, and it looks like there's some solid advice going back and forth about art. You could ask about RP stuff, about if you want to learn how to broadcast on Twitch. If you need some writing advice, there's all kinds of RP Mentor, Writer's Muse. Let's see, Roll20 Guide if you want to know how to use Roll20 better, and an art advisor and such. There's different titles. Turvin, you are not interrupting the creative process here. We are on Twitch. Twitch is a live service. You are here live with me, as I am with you. Your questions and comments and concerns come first. I am not here as a part of, like, Khan's Academy or as some remote learning. I mean, I wish I could pass out accreditation. That'd be cool, wouldn't it? But no, your questions are important. And in fact, any sort of interruption of the learning process or the presentation process is a part of the process itself. If you're watching because you want to become a better DM, how do you handle when you're giving a bad guy monologue and someone has to answer the phone, or someone has a question or needs clarification, and you know, the moment might appear gone? Or if you're having an interaction and a party member just comes up with a brilliant, genius statement or question that unravels your entire plot, even if it was accidental, how do you handle that on the fly? So, Turvin, your interrupting is a part of the learning process, is a part of the storytelling process. Whether you knew it or not, you've actually improved the stream by it. Because also, consider this. If you ask a question, how many people might have wondered the same thing and didn't say anything? Or maybe they didn't know they didn't know. It was an unknown unknown. And now you made it into a known unknown that gets turned into a known known. You're very welcome, Turvin. Valiant One, hey. Alright, so we did the examination of our party through stats and graphs, and we looked at the strengths and the weaknesses of the party as if they're just a pile of vocabulary words and numbers. There is another aspect to looking at a party and building connections from the point of view of a PC and as a DM. So I did a little homework also before I started the stream. And you can see here that I laid out all 5 of our party members, right? So here's their name. Here's Street Rat, our chaotic neutral male hill dwarf, who is a warding dwarf because he's dragonmarked. And in 5th edition Eberron, if you are a dragonmarked race, that is either a variant of the race, like it would be a variant human, or it replaces your subrace, such as a hill dwarf. So we technically rolled a hill dwarf, and for intents and purposes, Street Rat looks like a really swole hill dwarf. But the features that a hill dwarf gets, instead are replaced by the dragon mark. And so dragon mark is a subrace to dwarf. You get all of generic dwarf features, but your subrace is replaced by what you get through your dragon mark. So here's some basic info. Here's a fun fact about each of the characters, and then I translated over their personality, their 2 personality traits, their ideal, their bond, and their flaw. And the reason why I did this is because now we can start finding connections between our characters. Because you may look at this and say, whoa, all right, hold on. How do we have a chaotic, evil character in our party, and she isn't going to try and murk everyone? Well, number one, because alignment is more how your character, in my opinion, this is more how your character expresses his or herself. It's not their core morality. It is their methodology of expression. Chaotic evil is impulsive selfish. This doesn't mean that Greerer goes around and drowns bags of kittens, you know, willy-nilly, doesn't steal the Christmas presents right before all the Who's in Whoville gather around in the middle of town. You know, she doesn't wake up in the middle, you know, in the morning and go, "Yes, I'm evil." Mwahaha, the fools. Just because she's chaotic evil doesn't mean that she is a lol random murder hobo. So if you look at alignment as the way that your character expresses, it's the outlet for all of this other stuff that makes up their character. Not only does it strip away the old stereotypes of alignment, but yet it still gives alignment meaning. It makes your character a little bit more three-dimensional. And again, also, don't forget, lawfulness is more like fastidiousness or methodical. Good is selfless. Evil is more selfish. Chaotic is more impulsive. And so if you use these synonyms, it takes a lot of the hard edge off of a term like chaotic evil. You want the chaotic evil character to be in love with a tiefling? Well, hey, look at this. By the way, so she took the custom background that was in the Wayfinder's Guide of a house agent. I love someone from another house, but such relationships are forbidden. She may be in love with the tiefling, although the tiefling's not in a house. It's an aberrant mark. Now, we could take that literally or metaphorically, so that's fine. Although, Ivlon, what would make it even more interesting, both Greerer and Lucorlio, it's not listed here. Both of them are old, and this is probably going to be their last adventure. Because they either should already be retired, or they're just going to give out. If not during the adventure, then after it. If we go back over to Greerer here, Greerer is 345 years old for a dwarf. She will probably die of natural causes within 6 years. Now, being a monk, you know, there's certain aging benefits you get so that, you know, an old body doesn't necessarily slow you down, but you'll still die of natural causes. If we look at Lucorlio, he is an old gnome, and he is 369 years old. So Romeo and Juliet, or Romeo and Crazy Murder Juliet? And Ivlon just simply says yes. Coffee Cat, in that case, my Whizlock might be more along the lines of methodical neutral. So yeah, so he's interested. He may not be selfish, right? He's interested in what he's doing because he feels that if he himself is selfish, that might be counteracted by any of the good that he's doing for the world, which then he can profit off of, but it's okay that he profits off of it because then by extent other people will have jobs or he'll donate to charity, and suddenly we have a back and forth where he's a part of the process. He just inserts himself in the center of the gear and turns the gear. So he's methodical and he's selfish, but in a way that will, you know, that isn't entirely self-serving. Not swellfish, but hasn't had a reason to be selfless. Swaying toward good. Yeah. And things can also change over the course of a campaign, too. So when we lay out our characters like this, it does their stats. I mean, yeah, we looked at age. Is that really a stat in D&D? But we look at this old gnome warlock, who, by the way, is a chain warlock. So he's elderly, and he probably has his summon, or I'm sorry, he probably has his familiar as kind of a butler or a servant who helps him do a lot of things. Because warlocks nor gnomes get any kind of take the edge off of aging ability like what monks and druids and I don't know, and transmutation, I think wizards can do. And so here we have an old man who's helped out probably by his summon or his familiar. Which, by the way, we think, oh yeah, I'm gonna have a familiar, and it's a black cat, and it's gonna sneak, and I'm gonna look through its eyes, and then I'm gonna have it pounce and scratch the eyes out of the person so that he's blinded for a round or something. Lucorlio probably talks to his familiar, who might well remember where everything is. Lucorlio's familiar also might kind of do basic, you know, maintenance, all right? You know, psst, Lucorlio, your fly's down. Or, Lucorlio, you know you can't eat shellfish. You know, things like that. So anyway, I mean, so age is a number in this case. But let's strip away the numbers. Let's strip away a lot of the legal in so much it rules as written as a legal, you know, D&D. Let's look at the legal glossary meanings of words. Let's honestly find connections between our characters. And you know what? We started with a really good one. If we look at Greerer herself, Greerer, here we'll give her kind of a shade of gray. Greerer and Lucorlio are old together. In fact, they're almost the same age. There are things that a chaotic good and a chaotic evil character can share when both their backs give out at the same time, or when they can feel the rain coming in their knees, or when they can share memories from 100 years ago, 200 years ago. And suddenly, they may not always agree. In fact, they may not even agree on whatever sides they took in one thing or another 200 years ago. But of everyone in the party, Greerer and Lucorlio can actually relate and get along. And they might even find common ground or common meaning, despite their alignment, if we're going with a hard alignment argument, which I'm kind of being satirical about, because they can get along in other ways too. Whip's like, I don't like to bathe. Does that mean take a bath to get clean, or go, or also swimming? Probably just, you know, it's probably just a bathing, like taking time out. Because if you think about it, Zuler Pie, when you're bathing, things like bathing or even toileting are a time when you are vulnerable, right? You're naked or almost just, or in the case if you're using the bathroom, you're kind of preoccupied right now, and you're supposed to be someplace private under normal circumstances. And if the Kool-Aid man bursts in while you're taking a shower, or you know, or you're sitting down reading you know, you're in the library, we'll call it, or the Epiphany booth. You're in the Epiphany booth. It's a time of vulnerability. And so not wanting to bathe could mean that, yeah, he doesn't. I don't care for social graces, or you could take it as a defensive measure. This character doesn't like feeling vulnerable. Okay. Let's take... We'll even go a darker gray. Look at this. We have 2 Way of Shadow monks. By default, you think they'd get along. And in this case, they probably would. As you have an agent of the house here. So she was brought up. And by the way, her house specialty that we randomly rolled was infiltration and observation. And so remember, a Way of Shadow monk is another way of saying ninja or shadow dancer. These two may have trained differently, but here we do have a member of the house, though this particular branch was bankrupted in the last war, which is a great 100-year-long civil war that ended just like 2 years ago or such. So, Whippoorwill's family was devastated during the war. And he was left as effectively an urchin in the streets, like having to beg. You know, maybe the parents weren't lost. In fact, that's why this character starts with a debt. But had to learn things on the streets, and maybe picked up how to be a Way of Shadow monk that way. It didn't come through a monastery training, or maybe it did. Could Whippoorwill be an understudy of Greerer and therefore having a connection? Did Greerer, who spends a lot of time hanging out in alleyways and observing and following people, did she see this poor urchin on the street and feeling a bit of a matron or a grand matron offer him training? Don't forget, too, to look on the sheets. Because Eberron is a neo-noir / kind of gritty pulp setting, there are a lot of background character details that the campaign setting will prompt you. So all of our characters have either a debt or they carry a regret. So in this case, your family lost everything in the last war. 200 gold pieces would get them a stake in a new business. What if Whippoorwill decided to leave his family to not cause them any more hardship or burden financially, and learn to be a scrappy, you know, urchin on the streets? So we might have a connection here. Whippoorwill is, in fact, Greerer's understudy. I think anyone who's nice to me is hiding evil intent. Well, you know what? The way she expresses herself, Greerer actually will probably negotiate with full face. You'll, you know, I'm going to challenge you with this, kid. You're probably going to die, and if you live, I'll give you a reward. So Whippoorwill, I mean, again, look outside the box of chaotic neutral getting along with chaotic evil, because you can argue those two are very thinly separated. Look, I help people who help me. That's what keeps us alive. Regardless if she does murder people as a part of her her house agency. Greerer helps Whippoorwill to pay back the debt. He'll help Greerer with information or something else. I owe a debt I can never repay to a person who took pity on me. Could that be Greerer? And we've cemented a bond. Wouldn't it be the first thing to try and get hold of his family to get the money back? So, the debt is supposed to be incurred so that your character has a motivation to go out and do something. Right? You have a regret that you want to try and rectify, or you have a debt that you need to fulfill. And so with Whippoorwill, who is... Let's go back here. Yeah, Whippoorwill's 144. And mind you, gold pieces can be very tough to come by. A gold piece, on average, is 1 day's skilled labor. 1 gold piece is 1 day's skilled labor. And then you also have to pay your bills and your taxes out of that gold piece. So how difficult, how long can it take for someone, especially an urchin, who isn't necessarily skilled traditionally, to earn 200 gold pieces to spare to give to his family? So that's an excellent question, Turvin. So here's another a connection. Now, is anyone else... I don't think anyone else was elderly. Young adult for Karak. Young adult for Street Rat. Okay. Here we go. These two characters, Street Rat and Whippoorwill, have grown up on the streets together in some form or fashion. In fact, due to age, Street Rat probably is an understudy of Whippoorwill. Because look at this. I think anyone who's nice to me is hiding evil intent. Who could have instilled that in young Street Rat? Boom. I like to squeeze into small places where no one else can get to me. Well, I mean, we have a dwarf, but we also have a halfling way of shadow monk as a part of the training. So we have a strong connection here with our urchins. They've been put through the ringer. And if you notice here, look, Street Rat was orphaned after his wealthy parents were murdered in an alley outside the theater district. He grew up as a scrappy street fighter. That explains how we got a barbarian urchin. And also a barbarian urchin who is the heir of a tremendous fortune, by actually being a scion of House Kundarak. When his pet mouse died, it became his totem spirit and transformed him, which included helping him awaken his dragon mark and realize his destiny to lay low the haughty. Yes, we have the Batman, although he's more like the Ratman, because he had a pet mouse or rat growing up. This is something that we can highlight, and we should be cautious about. Not all the houses get along with each other. Right? These four characters are part of established houses. And in fact, one of them has a great dragon mark. Greerer has a great dragon mark of warding. But how can we actually further break this down? Well, yes, technically Street Rat is a scion of the Kundarak house, but he never received formal training, and he would be likely to possibly even fight Greerer, despite them sharing this bloodline. Especially because, look, Street Rat wants to bring down rich people, and it looks like he's willing to use his wealth, if he can access it at some point in time, in order to do so. Or at least the corrupt wealthy. So that he can come through and maybe actually build orphanages and the like. So what if we did this? We have an aberrant dragon mark, which the formal houses probably would feel a little weird being around. I don't know if that's showing up, if this kind of hotter pink is showing up against the lighter pink. Let's see. Can I do something? Magenta 1, 2. Let's do this. There we go. But bear this in mind. He is not a formal part of the house. Karak definitely is not a formal part of a house. Street Rat can have a bond of some kind with the formal house members. Street Rat can share a bond with Karak, who is an aberrant dragonmarked character, who has no house, who didn't ask for this. Does that make sense? Are you able to see the connection between the characters as we're taking our time and we're explaining them this way? Let's see. Ooh. Remember, all of these characters were randomly generated in a vacuum themselves. We're just trying to find bonds between them. So, Karak Galifax, he's jilted after his lover took all he had and led the sack of his monastery. He still tries to approach things in a balanced world. He believes that only he can put down the great fiend rumored to be plaguing and or influencing the upper levels of Sharn. We are going to give this a nice, healthy red color. I hope you can still read that all right. What if Lucorlio's patron is a fiend that lives in the upper city of Sharn, in the floating tower district? And this same patron is the one who's responsible for plaguing, causing this plague or poor or bad influence or corruption in the upper levels of Sharn. Turvin, no, warding and aberrant, those are the types of dragon marks. Although the type, for instance, the warding dragon mark belongs to House Kunderic. The scribing dragon mark belongs to House Civis. The healing dragon mark belongs to House Jurasco. Street Rat's ideal, retribution. The rich need to be shown what life and death are like in the gutters. And here, so as an ideal, we look into the fluffy bit behind Karak, where there's some great fiend rumored to be plaguing and or influencing the upper levels of Sharn. And then we actually have Lucorlio, who has made a pact with a fiend, whether he knows it or not, We have even a negative connection. It's still a connection between the characters. Yes, only members of a house by bloodline can inherit these 12 proper dragon marks. The aberrant dragon mark is, think like a mutant, right? You don't control the powers you get. You never asked for this, but it happens anyway. And you're stigmatized for it because it's not a part of the proper order. And in fact, how about this? If we're trying to pull together story elements, Lucorlio, being this gnome warlock, right? The tyrant who rules my land will stop at nothing to see me killed. What if this tyrant who will stop at nothing to see him killed is his patron? Because the patron knows you keep your friends close and your enemies closer. And in its own ironic, twisted way, has made Lucorlio, who's been famous as a freedom fighter, an unwitting pawn. Who keeps Lucorlio, the folk hero freedom fighter, on a chain himself as a familiar of the patron. Right? Get into the mood of Eberron. This is neo-noir storytelling. This is gritty stuff where not everyone is happy princesses in conical hats with lace and it's all pink and the dragons are fat and happy and whatever. Eberron is darker. Eberron does have these more intrigue style gameplays. Lucorlio, all his life, when he made this pact, which he thinks is good, right? Let's see. His earnest feelings about the last war and social justice have blinded him to the true intents of his patron, or perhaps it's his senility. So his patron could very well be this fiend who is keeping him on a leash or a chain, but allowing him to also summon, a familiar of his own as a warlock. And yet Lucorlio sees this evil face of the tyrant who rules over the land. But the thing is, there's a patron face and there's this public evil face. And so his patron is keeping him closer than even friends because of this. And because Lucorlio has the sentiment of the people, he's kind of a retired crime fighter. It means that he can keep more people under his tyrannical thumb in the city of Sharn. Because they follow the leader, but the leader is following a tyrant, while simultaneously speaking out against the tyrant. It does make it hard to read. Okay, I'll try and find maybe a lighter red or something. I was hoping that maybe it wasn't as hard. But you know what? You can hope in one hand and fill the other with, we'll just say shaving cream. And we'll see which one fills up first. There we go. How about that? Evil wears a nice salmon pink. Riddle me this. Why did I just highlight dwarf, halfling, gnome, dwarf? And why didn't I highlight Tiefling? That's right, Coffee Cat. We have a party of short stacks, effectively, with the exception of Karak Galifax III. Our party tickles maybe, well, I don't know. I think our dwarves are past 4 feet. Our gnome and our halfling aren't. An interesting juxtaposition that is when our campaign is going to take place in Sharn, which is a city that's a mile high and has mile-high towers. We have a party of short stacks. Do you think that they can find common ground together this way? Could this be something that even if they're squabbling, when the gnome tries to reach something, that the dwarf who might be a couple inches taller can get it, and they at least find camaraderie? Totem Warrior, Beastmaster, and I highlighted a part of Chain. Why did I highlight these 3 aspects? Yeah, that's right. They can ask Karak how the weather is up there. Hey, how are those lightning rods of horns you got? That's right. They are all involved with animals in some way. As pets, as extensions of themselves. They can bond through these animalistic companions. Or like tendencies to summon or have this innate connection with them. Not that. Alright, so we have another bond between our characters. And now we're starting to dip a little bit more into personality traits and other parts of their backgrounds. Well, one of them had a pet, the other one is the last one. Hey, Ro, good to see you again. Welcome. I hope you're having an awesome Saturday. Zulerpai, Karex, P2, and Greer's ideal. Yes, that's a good bond there, Zulerpai. In fact, we'll do that one next. So, I feel tremendous empathy for all who suffer. People, I hate, or I help people who help me. That's what keeps us alive. Freedom, tyrants must not be allowed to oppress people. His earnest feelings about the last war and social justice. In fact, we can even get a refugee from the last war as part of the fluff in here, too. Right? These are feelings of empathy. These are feelings of outreach, of wanting to help others. Romonger today was with Awesome and Bad, Hema in the morning, and D&D all day afternoon. Oh, nice. So if any of you don't know, HEMA stands for Historical European Martial Arts. It is not the same thing as SCA. It can be kind of similar, right? Where the Society for Creative Anachronism. But HEMA is where you get to wear and practice using arms and armor of Europe. So, you know, swords and shields and full plate and all that other stuff. Oh, no. Oh, Romonger. What weapons and armor were you training with? Are you going to need a surgery or something? I hope you feel better. Alright, so Zulerpai said Karex, personality trait 2. The leader of my community has something to say, wise on every topic, and I'm eager to share that wisdom. Does match up with Greeror's ideal discovery. I want to learn all I can, both for my house and my own curiosity. So is there anyone else who is, like, about espousing and knowledge and... let's see... Not necessarily. That might be a unique bond, which is perfectly fine between those two. This goes back to that salmon pink. Because it's referring to that fiend. I think by looking only at the fluffy bits of our characters, we have found the big bad evil guy of the campaign we're going to plan. No, I just need to take it easy for a while. My wife got me a halberd for our anniversary, so I was playing with that. Ooh. Make sure to take that that feat, because it's a really good one in 5th edition. No, that's really cool, Romonger. Now, is it one of live steel, or is it sort of like is it a weighted practice one, but it has like a blunted edge, so you can still poke, but you aren't going to draw blood? What else? Oh, I have a family, but I have no idea where they are. One day I hope to see them again. And we'll highlight some of the fluff down here, too. And in fact, talking about family and loss, The sack of his monastery. And we can even tie in Tiefling itself. Tieflings are very rare oddballs in Eberron. You have a practice one. The replica comes in at least 2 more weeks. Halberd's an excellent weapon, though I wasn't that great against heavy plate. Now all you need is some 15th century plate, says Romonger. Do you have, I'd love to see the, like, the weapon or whatever. Like, do you have a picture of the weapon or something along those lines? Because all we get are sketches in our PHBs. So actually seeing the real deal. And by the way, Romonger, you practicing with the halberd might give you some inspiration the next time you run a character who uses a halberd to get some good tactics in. Yeah, thank you, Ro. I know I keep asking pictures from you, and I swear it's because you have some really cool toys. Oh, by the way, I escaped my life of poverty by robbing an important person, and I'm wanted for it. This could very well go back to this same fiend. Fluted medieval plate made the halberd a poor choice for the battlefield. A hammer type or pick type work better on the fluted armor. Whoa, Donald Magoober! Yeah, it has been a good while. Have you been having a good summer, man? It's good to see you. So let's see. This is kind of an antisocial bend. I think anyone who's nice is hiding evil intent. I believe my house and bloodline make me better than everyone else. Same thing here with Whippoorwill to Jurasco. Now, interestingly enough, I love someone from another house, but such relationships are forbidden. This would almost universally, while she does believe that Kunderic is the better house, and despite her also being chaotic evil, maybe that chaos in her heart, that impulsiveness, through this bond, I love someone from another house, she can actually get along with other people. Even though she may consider them under her, she can at least get along with all of the other houses because she knows, you know, that there's this forbidden love, and that people from other houses may not be as good as Kunderic, but that she can still love someone or have regrets about them, you know, or actually feel moved. Here we have this ninja, this hired, almost a hired killer and espionage agent, who's sent out to do Kunderic's work. They don't ask her questions. They don't care how she does it. They want the job done, and they don't want bodies found. And that's what she spent her life doing. But she can feel love. And so this bond almost allows her to be able to bond with any of the other characters, including Karak, the aberrant dragonmarked tiefling, who is of no house, but still carries a dragon mark. Donald says it's been a busy one, but good. I just wanted to stop in before I start lurking. Got some story editing to do tonight, so I'm going to be watching on console, aka the worst thing to chat. No, that's fine, Donald. Thank you for popping on and at least saying hi, and I hope you enjoy your lurk. We're going to actually, speaking of story editing, we'll be taking a break here shortly. And then when we come back, we're going to be building an Eberron campaign set in the city of Sharn. And we are going to be following Freytag's pyramid. Trevin, Greer's personality 1 and Carrick's personality 2 both state that they talk much. Maybe that could be something. I share trivia about my house's business and Carrick's 2. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we can include that in here, too. Good catch. Good catch. Victor, hi. I wanted to try something new, so I made an elemental dude sorcerer. Genasi, yep. Which kind of sorcerer did you go for? This is also kind of a selfish bend here. I wonder if we can have this. I have a strong sense of fair play, so this makes him very open-minded. Which could resound with Greer's bond. Carrick, maybe even his flaw could get in on this too. Because now that he's returned from his hermitage, he enjoys its delights. So he doesn't care, you know, he'll eat anyone's food, maybe he'll find the embrace of anyone who is willing to embrace him. He's very open-minded and maybe a lot more loosey-goosey about his affections for food, drink, companionship, things along those lines. Let's see. Solitude and contemplation. I like to squeeze into small places. So this is all very isolationist. I don't like to bathe. That's very antisocial. I get bored easily. Is that also antisocial? Or is that... it's kind of a way to exclude, right? I want my destiny. No, I take that back. That's going to be more of the yellow. I believe my house and bloodline makes me better than everyone else. So we're just going to connect these ones here. I like to squeeze into small places. I don't like to bathe. Power and solitude. Even this one, I think. Her personality, too. Now, I fully realize, by the way, that many of you at home could very well rearrange this and look at the characters differently. And that is perfectly fine. This is part of the writing and the creative process as you're examining this. If you were making these party members, you could see things differently yourself. So just because I have, just because I have things a certain color or a certain way, doesn't mean that that your version, if you think that there's a connection elsewhere, that could still very well be a valid connection. I may have missed something you've caught. I may have caught something you missed. Go, and we can approach things all around. So I think we did a pretty good job at, let's see. We've connected pretty much everyone, actually. Ooh, here we go. Street Rat's flaw goes with her fluff bit. And I think this will be our last connection because I think we did a very good job of illustrating just how similar a lot of these can be. We have taken, and it's not just personality to personality, we have taken personalities and matched them with fluffy bits, backgrounds to classes, to archetypes, to flaws, to fluff background. That's not technically a part of the PHB generation of the character, but the circumstances that resulted from the PHB generation. Do you see now that we have a map, or we have a way that if we're trying to plan content for these characters as a DM, we can plant these seeds, these adventure seeds, and have them take it up? Or if as PCs, we all, we went our separate ways, we made our characters, and now we all get back together and we're like, oh my gosh, because we fall into this trap so often. I'm running a chaotic evil character, and Luke Corleo is running a chaotic good. Well, obviously we can't get along. There's just no way that we could get along. Well, sure, if you're comparing one element in a vacuum with the outdated notion, in my opinion, of what alignment stands for, sure. Along a one-dimensional property of the character, they're incompatible. But if you dig deeper, gnomes and dwarves are both short stack races, and in fact, well, I was going to say stout halflings are almost akin to like being like dwarf kin, because they get the poison resistance and all that too. I mean, we could highlight stout if we really wanted to, but I didn't really include it because they're sub-races, they're dragonmarked. House Kunderic does get along very well with House Civis. That's actually a bond in its own way. You posted the pics on Discord. Your wife rushed off to work so fast she didn't take out all the HEMA stuff. Well, I don't know. I mean, I would imagine if she got pulled over and there's a suit of armor and a longsword in the back, that, I don't think she'd get charged with concealed carry or anything like that. Or she has to she keeps the blade in the back, but she can keep the handle and the hilt in the front glove box, and then you're golden. You just can't have them together until you have the license. Anyway, thank you, Rowmonger, for doing that. I'll take a look at those because I'm going to take a break here real quick. I hope that this was an excellent exercise for you all, and that you take ideas from this. And it helps you explore characters to either play, to run for, or if you just want creative ideas because you want to write a fantasy novel or something along those lines. When you make characters like this as an author, let alone as a DM or a PC, look at all of the connections we have between 5 very different people. Yet they share similarities. And not everyone jives with everything else on the same level. Look. You know, Greer and Whippoorwill don't have a connection to this salmon pink evil fiend, but they're gonna get drawn in on it all the same. And these two have their own connection. These and Street Rat and Whippoorwill have a connection. It all goes around. Heck, we have a tiefling. What if Carrack Galifax III is son of Carrack Galifax II? You know, or I guess an estranged if you went on a hermitage, who is in fact the fiend, or maybe Carrack Galifax I is this, you know, grandpappy fiend who went on to sire these other tieflings. Dun dun dun! Oh shoot, does that maybe fulfill some part of Freytag's pyramid? I don't know. We'll come back and take a look at it. We're gonna try and stay in the vein of this neo-noir or this pulp fiction, or this pulp storytelling style. While employing this methodology of Freytag's pyramid, okay? She ended someone rightly today. Oh, so she scored a lethal blow with a practice weapon. Anyway, everyone hang on. Let's take a 10-minute break. Go get something to eat or drink. You know, use the restroom. If you got a pet around, you know, or a child, or both, or if you consider your child a pet. You know, give them a little bit of love, and we'll come back and we will start making an Eberron Sharn campaign setting, or a campaign outline.